There are 5 super important dates that you need to be aware of as a buyer in the state of Oklahoma on the Oklahoma real estate contract when you're buying a home. And in this video, I'm going to go over those 5 dates: the contract agreement date, the earnest money due date, the closing date, the time reference date, and the inspection timeline dates. Those are the 5 dates you absolutely need to be aware of, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. This video does not create a broker relationship. This video is only to point out these dates, but not legal advice, and does not create a broker relationship. Full disclosure. Item number 1, the contract agreement date. The contract agreement date. Item number 1. Okay, so right here on clause 20, it has agreed to by buyer and agreed to by seller. These dates set the baseline if the contract's agreeable. These dates right here set the baseline for all the other dates that we're going to talk about. And the way that the Real Estate Commission and the the Oklahoma Bar Association, who get together and put together these contracts, they've got it all outlined straightforward to all the sellers and buyers in the state of Oklahoma to keep the process moving forward. So the dates right here on this page are super important to keep in mind because they reflect on each of these other 4 dates that we're going to be talking about. So the first date that is super important is the contract agreed to date. Now, if this is not signed here, then you'll want to look for the counter offer that is signed, and then that is when the written contract date is going to be. Once again, not legal advice, doesn't create a broker relationship. This is an informational video to point out to you things you must keep in mind when buying a property in the state of Oklahoma. Thumbs up if that's helpful. Now, let's go to item number 2, the earnest money due date. The earnest money due date is super important also because as a buyer, if you do not turn the earnest money in the time that's written out in the contract on clause 2, if you do not turn the earnest money in that time, then the seller can make the determination if they want to terminate the contract or exercise the seller's remedies under paragraph 16 of the contract. It says it right here, or both, by providing notice to the buyer before the buyer delivers the earnest money. So if that earnest money isn't delivered within 3 days of execution of the contract, okay, the buyer payable by the buyer within 3 days by execution of the contract, then the seller may terminate or exercise seller's remedies under clause 16 or both before the buyer delivers the earnest money. So the second most important date that buyers have to pay attention to in the real estate contract is getting that earnest money turned in within 3 days of contract. Big thumbs up if that's something that really blew you away that you didn't understand. Okay, pay attention to the dates. These words matter. It's a legal document that you're signing. In this video, it's not legal advice and it doesn't create a broker relationship. This is just for informational purposes only. Now, let's talk about item number 3, closing, funding, and possession date. Another super important date. If this date isn't kept in mind, you have the potential for not performing on the contract. Not an attorney, not legal advice, and this doesn't create a broker relationship, but you must pay attention to the closing process includes execution of documents, delivery of deed, receipt of funds by the seller shall be completed on or before blank closing date or such later date as may be necessary in the title evidence paragraph of the contract. Okay, as a buyer, you gotta make sure everything's put together by that closing date, or you'll want to consult an attorney, but you could lose the house. You absolutely could lose the house. So the most important, another important date to keep in mind when looking at the Oklahoma real estate contract is the closing, funding, and possession date. Thumbs up if that's helpful. Does it create a broker relationship? Not legal advice, just an informational real estate video that you want to pay attention to. Time reference date. Item number 4 that's super important that buyers need to pay attention to in the Oklahoma real estate contract is the time reference date, and that's found on clause 5. The time reference date is what sets out the outline for the rest of the contract if it's not left blank. Now, some brokers say put a date there because you want a hard date there so that if any additional documents are signed, this date doesn't get reset. And the reason that they say that, and it's very, very important, is if left blank right here, this sentence comes into play. If left blank, the time reference date shall be the 3rd day after the last date of signatures of the parties. Now, folks, that means I'm not an attorney. Verify it with an attorney. But what we've been told in our training is the last signature of the parties could be any signature. Let's say you're already through the inspections, investigations, and review periods. Let's say you're already through the appraisal period and everything's already done. But there's a name change that is needed on the contract. And when you sign that, if this spot right here is blank, verify with an attorney. This isn't legal advice. If this spot right here is blank, then that resets. That will literally reset all the dates of the contract, i.e. giving the buyers more time to do inspections, i.e. giving the seller more time to do the title work, etc., etc., etc. So if this clause is left blank right here, you do get an additional 3 days, because right here, if left blank, the time reference date shall be the 3rd day after the last date of signatures of the parties. You do get an additional 3 days before the rest of the contract timeline starts. But at the same time too, if you need a signature for anything to change an addendum or on the contract, name addendum, any type of an addendum, an additional signature, that signature could literally restart this whole timeline. Something very, very important to keep in mind. So if you're going to sign a contract and you need a week out to get the inspection scheduled and stuff like that, you may want to put a week out on this clause. But this does not create a broker relationship. This is not legal advice. If you'd like the team of agents that I work with at eXp Realty and I to help you with your real estate needs, we're absolutely here to do that. But we're only going to be doing that on broker agreements that we're a part of, contracts that we're a party of. This video does not create a broker relationship. Thumbs up if this helped you and brought something to your attention that you weren't aware of in the Oklahoma real estate contract. Thumbs up. And the 5th date that you need to pay attention to for this video, all of it's important. Thumbs up if you understand that all this is important. This is a legal document, guys. This is a contract, a legal document. It's a promise for a promise. Verify with an attorney. I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal advice. This does not create a broker relationship. This is just me telling you some very important dates on the contract you need to pay attention to. The 5th most important date that you need to pay attention to on this contract is the investigations, inspections, and reviews section of the contract. So the time reference date, if it was, for example, November 1st, and if it was left blank, that means you're 10 days after the time reference date. If this clause is left blank, would start on that November 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, on November 3rd. Okay, so that's when it would start. But if you put a date in there, let's say you put November 3rd, then 10 days after November 3rd, you would have to complete the investigations, inspections, and reviews. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So those are the 5 most important dates that you absolutely have to pay attention to when you're completing the Oklahoma real estate purchase agreement. Now, you need to check your calendars and make sure you have enough time for inspections. If the blank 10 days is not enough time for you to complete your inspections, you'll probably want to write in here a different amount that will give you time to complete your inspections. Now, if you've already contracted a property, use this video to cross-reference your dates. And the customers that I work with and helping them purchase contracts, we put these dates on here and we talk about these dates that are best for them so that they have that all lined out and scheduled perfectly. And then in the email that we send title companies and the buyers and the lenders, when we get a contract, these dates are also spelled out on that email too. So you'll want to pay attention to these super important dates. Guys, I really hope that you found this video helpful. And if you did, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our other videos such as pros and cons, living in, moving to, relocated to, video walkthroughs of houses, neighborhood tours of neighborhoods in the Oklahoma City metro area. The group of agents that I work with, the eXp Realty and I, we're absolutely here to earn your business, and we'd love to help you with all your real estate needs. If that's something you're interested in, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email at the information at the number and the email that's popping up down below, and we'll get to work helping you with your relocation to, and move within Oklahoma City metro area. We'll see you guys on the next video. Oh, and this video that's popping up right here, that video that's popping up right here is the next video in the important things that buyers need to be made aware of when they're purchasing homes in the Oklahoma City, in the state of Oklahoma. So that video might be of interest too for you. All right, see you guys on the next.